Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching me from. This is Colored Wonders or Esther Bisupe. Today's topic is called intimacy, which is obviously, well, if it was not clear enough, it's between a man and a woman, not any other way. And those of you already following me and watched any of my episodes, I always start with the Bible, because I want to make sure that it connects to the Word of God. I don't want to use my own understanding or my ideas or anything as such. I want something that backs it up for me. Yeah, so the first Bible quotation we're going to start it with is from the book of Genesis. If you don't know, it's in the Old Testament. It's the first book of the Old Testament, chapter 2, and verses 24, and then I read, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." That's the first one, and I think probably you remember this because I know I read this last week as well. The next one is in the book of Proverbs, which is also in the Old Testament, and it comes after the book of Psalms. So, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 5, verse 18 till 20, and I read for you. It says, "Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth, as a loving deer and a graceful doe. Let her breasts satisfy you at all times, and always be enraptured with her love. For why should you, my son, be enraptured, by an immoral woman, and be embraced in the arms of a seductress?" That's the next one. After this one, I'm going to go to Songs of Solomon, which apparently comes after. Is it? Let me just see. It comes after Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. Yeah. So Songs of Solomon's is also Old Testament, chapter 4, verses 12. And I read. It says, "A garden enclosed is my sister, my spouse, a spring shut up, a fountain sealed." The next one. Now we are leaving the Old Testament and we are heading to the New Testament. The next one is in the book of Matthew. Book of Matthew is actually the first book of the New Testament. If you are not aware of it, or if you don't know, or you're not familiar with the Bible. Yeah. So, book of Matthew, chapter 19. Chapter 19, verses 5 and 6. And I read. Yep. "And said, For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore what God has joined together, let no man separate." That's a good one. The next one is in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, which is also in the New Testament. The only thing you have to watch out is Corinthians have two books, not only one. So, Not that by mistake you go and open it in 2 Corinthians, because that will be something different. Yes. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7, from verses 3 and 5. And don't worry if you are not able to follow it with me. I'm going to write it down in the description for you, so you can take your time, go through it, and study it as well. Chapter 7, verses from 3 to 5, and then I read it to you. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Verses 5. Do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control, which is very important. I'm going to talk about this. The next one is in the book of Hebrews, which is around the end of the New Testament. You find it obviously before Revelation, because Revelations is the last chapter of the New Testament, as we know. So the book of Hebrews chapter 13, verses 4, and it says, marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Yeah. And the last one, but not least, is 1 Peter chapter 3, which I believe comes after Hebrews and then James and then 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 5 to 7, and is also in the New Testament, and I read it out for you. For in this manner, in former times, the holy women who trusted in God also adorned themselves, being submissive to their own husbands, as Sarah obeyed Abram, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, if you do good and are not afraid with any terror. Verse 7. Husbands likewise dwell with them with understanding, giving honor to the wife as to the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers may not be hindered. Yep. I think, yes, I believe, I always say this, but again, it's an essential topic which need to be discussed, because I can only speak about myself and my own generation. I remember growing up not really hearing anything about how this is going as of dating or just courting and get to know your husband / wife, not to mention the intimacy part of it. I didn't really hear nothing about it, actually, if I'm being honest. Nothing at all, apart from growing up. You watch all these romantic comedies or whatnot that comes from Hollywood, America, and the rest. So, but then again, that does not really give you the real idea. It gives you a picture, yeah. It gives you a picture, but then again, when you compare it with real life, it's not really what is really the whole package, actually. So what I would like to emphasize, well, a lot of things, but one of them is growing up in Hungary. I've been in different schools, and then I've seen different group of people, but then something was always the same with the users of, I have to try these things as of, how shall I say? I'll try to say it in a polite way, because I am not here to give you examples or to go into so much details. But what I'm trying to say is this. So most of the people, these youngsters, they were like, yeah, I need to have a girlfriend, I need to have a boyfriend. And then they all want to try the intimacy part of things, which, shall I say, is understandable. Like, if you're in the world, probably I can say is understandable. From the Christian point of view, not really. Why I'm saying this, because as I said, my generation, I don't think it has been said really, or it has been taught as of. There is a physical part of it, there is a spiritual part of it, you know. And I'm sure that my parents' generation, they are in their 50s, 60s, soon 60s, and then even the previous ones, I don't think it has been taught. And it was a taboo. It was like a taboo. Yeah, and a lot of, I think, and I think is not a good thing, because we did not, or pre previous generation did not talk about it as of openly teaching, teaching your younger ones as of your children and their children, and etc., etc. uh there goes the one, as we see it, or shall I say, I just want to connect it to that part of the Bible, when you see Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and then the devil comes to tempt them to turn the word upside down, or just twisting it, saying it as, oh, you will know everything. So what I'm trying to say, because intimacy is similar in a sense, as of, if you don't have a clue, because you don't, probably some of us out there, before marriage, we do not have a clue. As for others, we do try it, and that's another thing. But what I'm trying to say is, or what I have seen, is not something you have to try, because yeah, I remember back then in my high school years, and some of my classmates, and they were like, oh, I had this boyfriend, I had that boyfriend, and then they're changing boyfriend like it was just a pair of socks. Or the other way is true as well, as for girlfriends. And I'm like, how can you do that? No, really, how can you do that? It's not. The thing is, yeah, maybe you say it's ignorance, because they don't understand the spiritual impact of it, which is there is, because the Bible said it, as I read, that the two becomes one flesh, because it's not only that you connect as of your body connects, but then you also connect spiritually, and then only God knows what kind of spiritual background you have, and then now you have deposited it in the other person. In the other person, yeah, which I think a lot of the time is not necessary, because what you see later on in life, when you are, for example, when you are done with all this, okay, you've dated enough, you have grown to a certain age, when you believe that it is time for you to settle down, you want to get married, you want to have children and the rest. But then comes to marriage, and then it is possible for you that there are red flags coming up. And it's not because you're a bad person or anything, but you were not aware of the relationships that you have entered, and the spiritual connections that you have made, and that you are carrying things with you which is needing to be cleansed. You need to be sanctified, to be able to actually really fulfill what the Bible says, because how the Bible says it is really beautiful. It is really beautiful, and how I understand it is a sacred connection, relationship between your wife, or between your wife, or between you and between your husband and God. God has created it beautiful and good, and something that you should be able to enjoy within marriage, which also the devil has, for sure, we all know, twisted it and took it to the extreme, as of, we all know what goes on out there. I mean, it's actually disgusting, the things we hear of, how they disturb children, what they do, and all the rest. I don't even want to go into that. But what I understand is a sacred moment. And then the verse is that I was reading from the Song of Solomon, how I understand also when he's talking about the garden or the wall, which is God has a way of protecting his children, protecting his children, including myself, including each and every one of you who are watching. There is a way of how he protects us. But then again, he's not forceful. He's not going to, he's not going to say, oh, don't do it. He allows every one of you, each and every one of you, whatever you do because he gives us the freedom of choice. Yes. But what I see is that, as I said it before, this is a sacred moment, private, holy, a holy action, shall I say, which should be between you and your husband, or between you and your wife. It should not involve anybody out there and God, because God is the one who actually put his stamp on it, put his approval to it, to say, yes, you have been married, that you're one. This is something I wanted to emphasize. Also, there's nothing wrong for you to wait until you get married, because I know there's peer pressure out there which exists, which I was very shocked to hear that even when people in their 30s and 40s, others are still pressurizing them for all kind of nonsense. Um, oh, you still not have got married, oh, you still not slept with anybody, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what on earth, everybody should actually mind themselves and mind their own business, by the way. Yeah, that's one of it. Also another one I wanted to say is that, as I said, this is a holy union, is a holy union between man and wife. And it's something precious, and you don't want to waste it. Basically, that's something I want to say. At the same time, I'm here to say that, if you've done it, or if you live in any kind of lifestyle, don't take it as I'm condemning you. Don't take it as I'm condemning you, because I'm not condemning you. The only thing I would say to you is that go before God, present your case to say, okay, Lord, see, I'm living in such way. Is this the right person for me? Is it not the right person? Because I would also say that, you might be in a relationship, and it can be that the other person is for you, but maybe both of you have to give your life to Christ, to, being sanctified, and go for marriage counseling, and go through all those necessary steps to really experience it in the best way possible, as of being holy and blessed and ordained by God, which I believe is the most important thing. Because you might try it, and if you're a Christian, you might try it, but then at the end you realize that what you've done is I'm not saying it's a mistake, but you realize that what you've done is actually sin. You're not supposed to do that before marriage. And what I'm trying to say is, we mothers out there, we need to talk to our daughters, or let's say we are aunts, and then we have nieces and things like that. We should also talk to them. But also, men out there, please do talk to your sons and your nephews and things like that, because where I come from my family, I always loved that they taught us to be respectful, and a lot of positive things. Plus, seeing my parents being married, they are still alive, they are still married, which is a huge thing, because when you look out there, there's a lot of broken relationships, a lot of broken families. And like my father used to tell us growing up, that what, we are not perfect, but believe it or not, believe me, that when you look out there, you'll be grateful, and you should be grateful for the parents you have, because there are people out, but there are people out there who does not have none, or just have one, or really none, and I can see how much, or shall I say, I can understand, even though not fully, because as I said to you, I'm not coming from a broken home like that, but it can cause a lot of damage, because for girls out there, we need a good example as of a father figure, as is something that is also needed for the boys too, so that they know how they're supposed to, how they're supposed to behave, how they're supposed to treat ladies out there, which again I think is very important, because, well, I can say one example. I'm sure my dad will not mind me saying it, because I like to say what they said, because it's all examples which I grew up with. And one of the things he said, that as of, not for me, but for, I have one brother, but for my brother to say that, ladies out there, but it's not only about the whole which women we have. It's not about that. But no, what I'm trying to say, you might be laughing, that's understandable, no problem. What I'm trying to say is that, respect the woman, as of, she's another human. Uh, she has emotions, and all these things, and it's not about, well, it's not about how many trophies you can collect, because there are men out there who does that, which I think is also not is not good, because there are people out there, and if you keep hurting people, they will be hurted as well. They will be hurt, and it's just not good in a long time, in a long way. But let me not entangle myself with all this. Just what I'm trying to say, like the one says also in the Bible, that as a woman, your body is not only yours, but then it's also your husband's, and the same goes to the other way as well, that husband, your body is not only yours, but also your wife's, which is important. And there's a lot to say about this, I think, and I can say more as I'm married for some time now. And what I would like to say, or like one of the things I emphasize on, is that there is a difference when you're just newly married and you don't have children. When after you start having children, there's a whole lot of different dynamics, and I think it takes time to be able to juggle all these things, that, oh, you were this, you were that before marriage. But then what I would say to the dear men out there, husbands, that please be mindful of your wives also, because yes, we are there for you, but then also there are times when, imagine, we are tired, we are exhausted, let's say we are still breastfeeding or whatnot, we have little kids, and then we still have to attend to you. Trust me, there are times when it's not easy. It's not easy, and I'm sure there's also times for the men out there that you had a long day or whatsoever, which you've worked all day and everything, and the only thing you can just think of, or the only thing you just want, is to sleep, which is understandable. And again, we are back to the same thing as of communication, because maybe we enter like a dream world when we or we think about a dream world, let's put it that way, when we marry, but I have to say, wakey wakey, welcome to reality. Now you live under the same roof. Now you see each other, whether you use the toilet or not, whether you fart or not, whether you burp or whatever. You see all the things that you haven't seen before, because when you were dating, both of you were showing the best of the best of yourself, the cutest and the rest. But yeah, what I'm trying to say, communication is a key ingredient, because when it comes to intimacy also, as I said, depending on your background, where you come from, whether you used to be in a word and then you became a Christian, or you were already born into a Christian family and you were brought up in a Christian in a Christian family, sorry. There is a difference between those two. So what I'm trying to say is that nobody has the ability of reading minds. So please, can we stop doing this as of, oh, I think my husband knows what I want? Or the other way around, my wife knows what I like and what I want. And I'm like, it's all nice for you to say, but you know, just realize that we are humans. You are human, she's human, or you as a wife is a human and he is human, and they are not able to read your mind. So please, 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 with all due respect, make sure if anything bothers you, when it comes to intimacy, the other person, you have to be able to humble yourself enough to say, "Oh, my darling, you know how you do this or that. I do not like it. Can you change it a bit?" And the same goes to both sides. It's either man or wife. Both of you should be able to discuss it with each other. Yeah, because if one of you are not enjoying this process, then the whole thing is not worth anything, literally, because then, sorry, then it can easily become just a chore for the other person. And I don't think any of you want that, because, you can still be married and you can live in your separate rooms, but then slowly but surely you become strangers because you're like, oh, that's the only thing we are just avoiding to do together because it doesn't seem to work. And then there goes another thing. I'm going to bring a book which I found very useful for me, especially as a woman. But I don't know if there is any other one out there. Probably there must be for men also. If you know of any, you can just feel free to put it in the comment section. So if anybody interested, they can also find it, search it, and buy it possibly. Yeah. So as I said, I got the book here. I'm gonna read it to you as the. I'm gonna read out the title, which it says "Feminine Appeal," and is foreword by Nancy Demoss Wolgemuth. forgive my forgive my pronunciation. Or the other writer here, the author, it says Caroline Mahaney. But don't worry, I'm going to write it down in the description. So, yeah, there you go. So, what I wanted to say is this, which has come to my, I think it's just the spirit reminding me, which I find it very important because, one thing for sure, please, man, be kind to your wife. Why I'm saying this because, when you got married, your wife was beautiful, probably the slimmest they can be, or their best shape of their life, but then life comes as of you start having kids. And then again, what they say, every child is different. I would say every woman is different, because some ladies, they say, oh, when they're breastfeeding, they actually start losing the baby fat, which is not true with some others. And I would say I'm one of them. Also, what I would say is, as life goes on, there are stress and other things. Like, for ladies out there, our sleeping routine is being messed up. Especially those of you, who do breastfeeding. You know what I'm talking about. I have more than one kid, and I did not really have much break in between. So what I'm trying to say here is this: for the lovely men, for the very handsome men and husbands out there, that we love you, we respect you, but please be mindful of us, mindful of our body, mindful of our appearances, because I don't know if it's just me, but there was a time when I really did not like what I see in the mirror. I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be this big. Let's just put it that way. And even husband can say that sometimes, that, oh, you're getting too fat, for example, but then they're not saying it. They are not meaning to hurt you, or to pain you. They're just saying it because they are worried about you. But then I understand most of the time it doesn't really help, does it? Or, anybody out there, ladies, you can tell me in the comment section. Well, I'm just trying to say that men out there, please, be patient, be patient, be loving and caring towards your wife, no matter their shapes and forms, because women, we go through a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot. Not to mention, a lot of ladies go through cesarean section, which I thank Almighty I did not have that kind of situation. I was thankfully giving birth naturally all the 4 times which I had. But I know there are women out there who did not have that option. So just, be supportive, be kind to your wife, because words means a lot. Even if anybody out there says anything rubbish, which is possible from aunties and uncles and who knows what or whatnot, but at least from you, don't let it happen, because I don't know, as I said, if it's just me or there are more of you who can agree that it can be hard. It can be hard because sometimes you have this that, yeah, you want to do, but then you are not able to do, and you feel like you have disappointed yourself. What I wanted to just say is that, be patient with yourself and learn to love yourself, no matter how big or small you are. Because you go through life, and as I said, our sleeping routine is messed up, which then I found now, and it's the truth, I'm telling you, I find it actually challenging to, okay, now I have to work on set it up normal, because as women, we need enough sleep for us to regenerate ourselves and for our body to work properly. And then we've not even talked about exercising, diet, and all the rest of everything, which we are bombarded daily, really. Like, oh, medicate yourself, or do this surgery, or have this diet, or the list goes on, honestly. Just be patient with yourself, learn to love yourself. And I think love yourself, at the moment when you didn't have any child, it was just you and your husband, but also love yourself as you go through being pregnant, having a child, gaining weight, and all those things. Because I know it's hard, it can be hard, but don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Look at it as you're a champion. Yeah, you are a champion. Imagine you have nurtured a baby for 9 months. Like, it's a huge thing. It is a huge, big thing. So congratulations for you to doing it. Yeah. And also what I said it to other women out there, is that, when you have maybe one child or maybe two, and you are thinking that, oh, you want to have more, I would definitely advise you not to start thinking of, oh, how am I going to lose all this excess weight, because you're thinking at the same time you still want more. I would rather say, just have the one you want, and then when you are sure, when you agreed with your husband that you don't want anymore, then it can come. You can start working on it. But again, be patient. It's not a horse race. It's not a competition of, oh, how fast can you get to whichever size you want to. Also, be realistic. Is a slow process. It's not it's not like a sugar rush that goes like boom, like you're up here and then, oh, it goes down straight away. It's not like that. Yeah. I'm just trying to think if I have forgot to say any other thing. Yeah, respect each other, love each other. Because remember, you will not stay young forever. Your skin will change. Like, your firm skin is not gonna be it's not gonna be firm forever. But then again, you love the person you are with, not just because of the body they have, but the soul, the inner beauty, which I think is more beautiful, and it's more important than almost the outer one. Yeah. Yeah, another thought, well, around the end, is that, be mindful of how you talk to each other, which I can say much. Uh, you need to use soft and kind words mostly, which is better, which a friend of mine can can testify on behalf of me. Yes. Mm, as I need a lot of things to work on, because another thing also, you are there in this together as a team, as a husband and wife, and a lot of the things already God God is already working on you before you get into this holy matrimony, but then he also continues to work on things when you're there. And don't be surprised when sometimes he uses your spouse as maybe your wife or your husband. That can definitely happen. And what I'm trying to say is that, don't if it's possible, don't get each other upset, because you getting each other upset, it can also be a barrier for you to enjoy intimacy, because it's like, oh, you just angry at each other, like, I don't want to talk to her, I don't want to talk to him, and like, oh, we are just angry. No, forget about that. Plus, uh, because then the Bible says that you are allowed to be angry, but your anger should not go down with the sun, which is true. That's number one. Number two, when he's talking about, you can actually have sacred time of not going into intimacy because of mutual agreement. For example, fasting, which is understandable, because when it's fasting, you want it as holy as possible. And then both of you have to agree to this, as of the Bible says it in the verse I read out at the end, to say that, so that the devil cannot tempt any of you, which is important. Also, some verses I said is that, your bed is the place for your holy matrimony, and you should not go out there looking for any other option, which I'm emphasizing again is important, because I think a lot of us go into marriage with no experience, and I think when that's the case, you might have questions and things that maybe you don't like or the other person don't like. But instead of feeling odd, or instead of thinking that, oh, maybe you have to look for something else out there, don't do that. Always make sure you go before God. If you know anybody who is older than you, as like, if you can talk to your parents, I think that's also a good idea. Or any man or women of God that they will respect your privacy. I definitely suggest to you to do so. Plus, there are resources out there which you can also buy. You can read or listen to, because I know a lot of you probably like to have the audiobooks instead of the physical, which I'm an old-fashioned person and I still like books. But yeah, just make sure, if you need help, ask for help, even if it's prayer. And you can also definitely, surely pray to God so that he helps you, because he does help you. He has answer for everything, by the way, everything and anything, believe it or not. So yeah, thank you all for listening. And you all know, before I pray, I close it with a song which is just being given to me, and then I pray, and then I'll see you next time. There was creation. He created heaven and earth. There was creation, and it was heaven and earth. He created mankind, and it was good. He created mankind, and it was good. He created man and wife. He blessed their life. He blessed their life. Thank you for tuning in today, for watching me. I pray that this word find you in a good place. I pray that God will forgive us all our sins and He gives us peace and understanding, especially in all these important topics which we discuss on a weekly basis, and it's one of them. And also, I pray that if any of you out there struggle to understand each other, even yourself, I just pray that you go before God and just can say a simple prayer, and you will know that yes, God is mindful of you. He loves you, He knows you, and He knows how to help you. And at the same time, you can also pray for your husband or your wife. And if you still believe that you need some extra help, please don't hesitate. If you know a good woman or man of God, go and ask for advice, go and ask for prayer. You can fast as well, because it is just such an important thing that is needed, is needed for the both of you. It's something that both of you need, because it's originally a sacred and holy part of us as being created by God. So I pray that this will bless you, and it might start some conversations that you want to have with your spouse. I pray that it will help you. And as I said, the book I was showing you before, I'm going to put it in the description so that you can search and find it. But also be free to, if you know anybody, to ask around. And I pray that you'll have the wisdom to know who you can ask in your church or in your community or in your friendship circle that is a Christian. Yeah, until the next time, I pray that God will protect you, keep you, lead you, and bless the remaining part of the week that is ahead of you. Thank you for your time. God bless you. Bye.